Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Nigeria's transport union warns its drivers off the roads into Kaduna after dozens of motorists and passengers are reportedly abducted by gunmen. Also, civil society leaders in Burundi fear more violence as the country ramps up to a tense referendum due later this week. And I hear from Anna-Alix Koffi, the founder of Something We Africans Got magazine, about the sidelining of African intellectual creativity and the continent's global cultural contribution that's often given with little credit. But first, over 80 motorists and passengers have reportedly been kidnapped in Nigeria's Kaduna state. The country's road transport unions warned its members to watch out for roads linking the north to the south after claims that gunmen stopped travellers and herded dozens of them into the bush on Sunday. Samuel Okoye tells us more.
Police have not been forthcoming on what happened exactly, but what members of the officials of the National Union of Road Workers, Road Transport Workers of Nigeria are saying is that a number of vehicles, including trucks, long buses, cars were stopped, and then the passengers were a number of passengers, as many as 87 passengers, were selected and taken into the bush, abducted in a way. And they said so far, some of those who, the families of some of those who were abducted have started receiving phone calls as to concerning the payment of ransom to secure their release.
Now, Kaduna also saw dozens of people killed in a village last week in an attack by a gang of gunmen. Is the state particularly dangerous?
Yes, the highway, the highway linking Kaduna and Birnin Gwari is a very important highway. But unfortunately, there's a very long stretch of this road which is forested and very desolate. And that has become an attraction for bandits to stop people traveling between the north and the southern part of Nigeria. And a number of these people are traders who are carrying a lot of money. In Nigeria, we don't use electronic money as such. Most times people carry money to do trade. So many of these are normally carrying money, and then it becomes an attraction. And beyond that, there have been a lot of killings in the area. In the past weeks, at least 100 people have been killed, 5 policemen and 12 soldiers have been killed in this area. And now the military said they are going to establish a base in the place, and military authorities have given soldiers 3 weeks within which to stop these killings.
Samuel Okoye there for us. Now, staying in Nigeria, hundreds of people from the Otoro Bame community took to the waters to demonstrate against a policy of forced eviction that has left thousands of them without anywhere to live. Police had been expelling people from the Lagos fishing community until a court order halted the demolition of their homes last year. At least one person was killed and several people injured as police carried out the expulsions. Many who were forced out still have not found anywhere decent to live.
We are not sleeping in a better place. We are still squatting. We are still sleeping inside the boat, eating inside the boat.
And the final eviction of Otodobame people is illegal, inhuman, and today make it exactly 1 year that the issue should not just go like that.
Well, Shiite leader Ibrahim Zakzaki made a rare public appearance in a Nigerian court on Tuesday as he faced criminal charges. It's only the second time the leader of the Islamic movement of Nigeria has been seen in public after he was taken into custody 2 years ago. Despite court orders that he should be freed, Zakzaki's been detained since December 2015 when bloody clashes broke out between his supporters and police in the northern city of Zaria. And in Cape Town, hundreds of people marched in protest against Israel on Tuesday, a day after its troops killed 59 Palestinians and wounded thousands in Gaza. South Africa recalled its ambassador to Israel on Monday. Members of the African country's largest political parties, the ANC, the Democratic Alliance, and the Economic Freedom Fighters, all took part in the rally in solidarity with Palestinians. Now, Burundi's ramping up to a tense referendum later this week. If the yes vote wins on Thursday, President Pierre Nkurunziza will be able to run again for 2 more mandates, possibly staying in power until 2034. That worries opposition leaders and civil society, many of whom are calling on the international community to step in. Nicolas Chemin tells us more.
The referendum takes place on Thursday, but already Burundi's ruling party is certain of its victory. If there is a majority of yes votes, that would mean President Nkurunziza could be a candidate 2 more times and possibly stay in power until 2034.
Now that the yes vote has won, I tell you this. Goodbye colonizers. Goodbye coup d'etat.
The major opposition parties are now in exile. They have said their supporters should not take part in the referendum. But in Burundi, those who call for a boycott risk up to 3 years in jail. The main opposition leader, who's still in the country, Agathon Rwasa, has asked Burundians to vote no. Members of the civil society in exile held a press conference in Paris and called on major powers to do more. Human rights activist Pierre Bonimpa survived an assassination attempt in 2015 when he was shot in the face.
We want the international community to take action. It needs to impose severe sanctions so that the Burundian government can no longer function. It could, for example, impose an embargo.
Those who oppose Nkurunziza say the change to the constitution would mean the end of the Arusha peace accord. It had led to the end of the civil war that left 300,000 people dead. The accord stated no one could rule Burundi for more than 10 years. Even the African Union, which is known for its cautious statements, has criticized the possible change to the constitution.
Well, Anna-Alix Koffi is the founder of the photo book, Something We Africans Got. Its 4th edition came out last month, and as well as offering beautiful images and shining a spotlight on the work of African creatives, it's also a good read. Anna-Alix says that she also wants to highlight intellectual creativity from the continent. Earlier, I asked her why she thought that there was a need for such a project.
Especially because since Revue Noire in the 90s, we didn't have any, books or let's say a journal, magazine to talk about art, you know, paper magazine, because there is a lot of online, like such as Africada. There's other like I Am, but smaller. And I wanted something because I felt that there was a kind of need for the French population to understand what's African creativity and also critical thought is, according to scholars that who write in the magazine and journalists and artists themselves.
So how do you balance this work between critical thought and art? Because when you look at it, it looks like it's actually very text dense.
Yeah.
How do you decide how much to give towards the creativity and the art and the photography and how much to the thinking behind it?
Well, it's first the thinking. I try to do it around the text. Before that, I had another magazine called Other World. It was much about images, photography. And this one is really about the text. And of course, because of my photography, amour, love for photography and for art and for images, I put huge images on them to balance the text. But it's really about what they have to say. And I give them a lot of space. And it's very long sometimes, and I want to translate into French and English, so both francophone and anglophone African could understand and see what we share. It's very it's the main word is sharing for me. Mm-hmm. Sharing the diversity of the continent, sharing what we really have, sharing the intellectual world, which is very strong. And I am the first to learn when each issue when I choose a country. Second country was Côte d'Ivoire, where I'm from, and I didn't know half of what it was inside.
So for you as well, it's a learning process as you put them together. But so you mentioned there this idea of sharing. You also make an effort in every edition to really highlight the dialogue between Africa and a given country not on the continent.
Absolutely, this is the third part, and because I know that there is a link. my purpose is to put Africa in the center of a cultural conversation. And Africa is not alone. Africa is, for me, the starting point of love of lot of culture and civilization. And so try to see which cultural links we hold with other countries. It's also see what African diaspora is doing elsewhere. For example, in this issue 3, it was Japan, and you have this man Usubi Sako, who is the head of the Kyoto University, which won't happen. Is from Mali. And this is, I mean, amazing. I mean, each time I say that, people are like, wow. And yes, it's the head of the huge university in Kyoto.
Anna-Alix Koffi there speaking to me a little earlier on. Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.